right, what's happening, y'all? Welcome back to the Gymnazo Podcast. I've got Asher Clark. I'm saying that right, Asher Clark, with us here today.
That's right. Yeah. Hello.
Right
How
on,
are we
man.
all?
Co-founder of Vivo Barefoot. Super stoked for this conversation, man. I think I started wearing Vivos about four or 5 years ago when I first started dabbling in like intentional minimalist footwear. And since then, we put them on all of our coaches' feet, and they swear by them. It's like the only thing they wear now. I think I'm up to like 15 or 20 pairs. It's ridiculous. I have a whole closet like dedicated to the Vivo Barefoot space. And then all of our athletes too. Oh, it's true. It's like an addiction. It fits so right. So I'm looking forward to hearing about how you guys started Vivo Barefoot. I think you guys started back in the early 2000s, and just kind of your journey into shoemaking. It sounds like you've been at it for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm originally from the Clark's shoe family, 7th generation, but didn't grow up on the factory floor, if you like. My dad was never in the business, so we often laugh about how I became a shoe dog. I don't know if I'm a shoe dog yet, maybe soon. I guess it was kind of in my genes or skipped a couple of generations, but so yeah, I mean, I got into shoes like in around 20. When was it? Yeah, like 2022. No, sorry, 2002. Wow, it shows how old I am. 2002, which is a long time ago now. Went to London College of Fashion. Did product design for the fashion industry, majored in shoes, and the penny dropped. You know, as a kid, I was always into sport and skateboarding and that kind of like intersection of performance and functionality, and shoes kind of seemed to tick that box. So yeah, went on a big shoe journey in fashion and sports, and kind of really learnt my trade as a designer, working as a freelancer for lots of different brands. Meanwhile, if we can probably go back there, but skip forward to how Vivo started. Vivo Barefoot, you know, actually isn't a new idea. You could say it's you know, hundreds of thousands of years old, because all we're trying to do is make as little shoe as possible, because you know, your feet have all the technology you need, which we'll also touch on. But it was actually the concept came from a childhood friend of my business partner and my cousin and the CEO of Vivo, Galahad Clark. And the guy was called Tim Brennan. He was at the Royal College, which is a famous art and design college in London. And he was a tennis player, actually. His dad was an Alexander technique teacher, and Tim kept twisting his ankle. So he was wearing his built up traditional cushy sneakers, you know, that we were born and raised on through the 80s and all the fancy underfoot technology. And he just in his lateral tennis game, he just kept rolling his ankle off the top of the sole there. So the very first pair of Vivos was when he took a bread knife to the bottom of his I won't mention the brand, but he took a bread knife to the bottom of one of the big 4 brands, took the sole off, stitched on a tennis racket cover, and there were the first Vivos. So effectively a sneaker with a very, very thin sole. He took the crazy idea to my equally crazy cousin. He thought it was an amazing idea, and the first pair of Vivos was basically the shape of his feet. It had a zip around the upper, because you had to zip the soles off and on and off, because they kept wearing out.
Skin tight, huh?
Yeah, man, they were a second skin, and that's when it actually started in 2004. It kind of bubbled along as a bit of a side project, and I didn't actually probably get involved till about 5 years later. And yeah, it was, you know, instinctively we grew up down in South Devon, kind of kicking around on the beach when you're kids with bare feet. So instinctively it felt right. And that's really where the very long journey began.
That's wild to think about, just slicing off the bottom of a shoe and putting on a tennis racket cover. How did it work out for him?
Yeah.
It's this is the right idea. We got to dive deep into this.
Yeah, so he kind of, he realized, so you probably know a bit about the Alexander technique, but it's very kind of postural, kind of based, foundational based kind of practice. And he kind of then realized it was having a significant effect, and it felt right, and deep dived into it. And so the first thing he was looking at was your feet have exactly the same amount of nerve endings in as your hands. Your feet are made to feel, your hands are made to feel. And your brain needs all of that information for a reason, right? It's part of the proprioceptive system, and with kinematics and kinetics, shapes and forces. When your brain gets all that information, it knows where to put everything in the right place, so it's efficient and you don't get injury. So he kind of did some of that early research, and then came up with some hooky shoes, and yeah, that was it. It was no one knew how profound it was at the time, but now there's about 90 people in our business, getting up early and going to bed late, thinking about it, dreaming about it, and trying to change the shoe industry.
Yeah, I love the message you guys send too. It's about like reclaiming your feet, instead of putting them into this giant glove or this giant coffin and saying, yeah, we'll see you never. There's this weird thing with feet. People are like, oh, put your feet away, especially in America. I don't know about you guys, but you get your feet shown, and you're not at the beach. You're just walking around town, or you're at the park or something, and somebody sees your feet, like, oh, get something on top of those. Do you guys face a lot of that with, in the creation of Vivo?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the unfashionable foot, right? I mean, there's a handful of reasons why we think that shoes became shoe shaped and not foot shaped, but when modern urban humans, of which we all are, grew up, we were used to these nice symmetrical kind of shapes, and when you pick them up and you look down, and it's that kind of cultural kind of cognitive dissonance of you want a nice thin symmetrical looking shape, but actually a healthy functioning foot is far from it. So yeah, we've got in the West, we do have a bit of a weird thing about feet, and it makes it challenging, right? To make wide, flat, foot-shaped shoes appeal to people, particularly with women, honestly, and or kind of fashionistas originally, but now we're moving, fast into a kind of space of the importance of health and well-being and comfort, and all of that good stuff. It's optimizing personal performance and things like that. It's definitely an easier conversation, or an easier thing to kind of get people's head around, right?
Yeah, I work on a lot of people's feet pretty much every single day. Like, hey, take your shoes off. And like, take your shoes off. What do you want to see? I'm like, well, kind of see your feet so I can tell you how the rest of your body is going to end up working together. And a lot of times it's kind of this click of confusion of like, why are you going to look at my feet? And, they've got back problems or shoulder problems or knee stuff going on. A lot of times somebody has some foot stuff too, like plantar fasciitis or bunions or heel spurs, things that just build up over time. And a lot of times when we don't have a foot issue, we're thinking it's like, oh, our back is our low back, or our shoulder is our shoulder. We need exercises to fix these things, when it really comes down to the foundation that could be the root of the issue.
Yeah, right? And it's an amazing point that, I mean, is that when you have a shoulder issue, when you've got an arm issue, or if you've had your arm in a cast or whatever, it's not uncommon train of thought to go, right, I've got to remobilize this, I've got to rebuild it, I've got to rehab that part of my body. But the reality, as you well know, is that feet are the foundation of that whole kinetic chain in movement. And so if you've got weak, ill-adapted feet at a foundational level, then you're going to get problems further up the chain. But it's something that is really new to people, and you encounter that every day when you ask people to take their shoes off, and they probably look at you like you got some kind of weird foot fetish.
I do have a foot fetish. Yeah. No, I love working on feet. It reveals so much about somebody's movement. And if somebody's got poor movement, typically they've they've got some poor foot health, because a lot of our movement takes place when we're upright, when we're standing or squatting down or lunging for something, reaching for something. And a lot of times we find that once we've got a healthy foundational foot established, it turns into a healthy movement, which then is a happy person, and a healthy person that turns into a healthy, happy community, because everybody's moving better and feeling better. And it started with, a lot of times starts with their feet. So I want to thank you. I mean, thank you guys over at Vivo, because it's made our job a lot more fun, and opened up a lot of conversations about anatomy and physiology, and not just treating, that 1 to 2 hours in the gym as you're training, but now they leave the gym in their Vivo barefoots, and they're getting extra reps. Every step becomes a rep towards more sustainability or longevity, and ultimately vitality in their life. And it really does come down to that. Every step is a rep, and with a poor step, you've got poor reps.
No, I love that too. It's like, is that it's the gym in, the gym in your shoe. When you step off the yoga mat, or when you step out of training, if you're wearing the right shoes, or if you're wearing no shoes, there's no reason why, your feet are always going to be stronger, healthier, and in better shape the less crap you put around them.
It's such a weird thought. All the research seems to, I don't even know if there is real research that shows that, wearing cushioned or padded shoes actually leads to less injury. I think it's actually the opposite now that we're getting more and more studies looking at minimalist style training. What do you say to people who are like, my doctor or my health professional said I need to wear orthotics or arch supports, and I need to have as much cushion to support my feet because of my bunions or because of my ankle pain? What do you say to somebody like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, there is, in fact, a lot of, there's a growing body of research in the opposite direction. And we kind of joked the other day that kind of, if you're putting 2 million years of evolution up against 50 years of shoe design, like, frankly, the best bit of technology that ever went in a shoe was a foot, right? And it's pretty hard to kind of argue with that. So if anyone should be proving the point, it should be coming from the padded kind of underfoot technology world. So yeah, what do I say to that? I mean, the truth is first principles, and frankly, we're moving into that health and wellness space where we're all taking charge of our own health. And the foundation of that kind of thinking is pretty first principle stuff. Is the more natural you do stuff, it tends to be better from a foundation perspective. Sleeping in circadian rhythm, being less stressed, spending more time in nature, eating seasonally, etc., etc. We're effectively we're the same body that we were, many generations ago, right? So we were actually quite an old school kind of body. So yeah, we should be doing stuff in just a bit more natural way. So look, there's no secret sauce in the shoe. All we're saying is take your shoes off, right? And it's hard to argue with strong, healthy feet, and whatever you wear on game day or on the marathon to get your 4% or whatever it is, strong foundation to all of that is a tough one to argue with, and you can go and check out the science.
Yeah, it's pretty rad to hear. You said something too about, whatever you throw on game day. What do you mean by that? Like, when whatever shoe you put on to get that extra bit of performance boost, go do it. But without a strong foundation, you may not be reaping the full benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the most important thing is the thing you do most of the time. So, like, it's okay to have a beer from time to time. It's okay to wear high heels if it makes, out on a Saturday evening, if that's what you want to do. It's okay to drink sugary drinks and sneak a chocolate bar and all of that sort of stuff. But it's what you do the majority of the time, the foundational stuff that is important. So it's the same thing with footwear, in my opinion. And do these kind of the mechanical doping shoes that everyone's talking about now make you run a bit faster? I don't know. Maybe they do, but they definitely don't set your feet up to be stronger and healthier, and that's a fact. So are there two, with standing is 1 body weight, walking's 2, running is 3. Are sports like basketball and skateboarding, do they require a bit extra padding and support? Probably yes, because they're not natural. So my kind of point around game day or race day is, without even having to enter into that conversation of, is that exactly the right footwear or not? And we can go down that rabbit hole if you like. The most important thing is what you're doing most of the time.
That's powerful.
You agree with that?
Oh yeah, I think so. We've got 24 hours in a day, and let's say 6 to 8 of them we're sleeping. And then maybe an hour to 2, you're at the gym training like intentionally to, let's say you're building muscle or getting better coordination, balance, whatever it is that you're working on in the gym. And then we've got this other, 14, 15 hours of potential training time. And it doesn't need to be, specific lifts or specific exercises that you're doing. It can be as simple as just putting your body through those extra reps or that extra time in natural movement. And if we're locked away, like in a coffin shoe or something that's got a lot of padding where your foot's not doing something natural, it would seem that your foot would be getting weaker over time, where you would need to go towards more of a padded shoe or something that gives you more support because your foot keeps getting weaker. So you need to get more and more padding on. I think that's where we run into a lot of trouble is, individuals that are saying like, this is the shoe that my doctor recommended to me and it feels really comfortable, without realizing, the long-term effects. What happens 5 or 10 years down the road, now that your feet have gotten weaker, atrophied, when it could have been a time where you continue to stimulate that natural movement, that natural cycle. 100%.
Yeah. And it's like, your feet and your body adapt to the environment you put them in, and weaken as a result. So, the truth is we all spend too much time sitting in chairs, and we all spend a bit too much time wearing shoe-shaped footwear. And so as a result, our feet are weak and shoe-shaped. And as a result, our bodies are pretty weak and chair-shaped. So we got to snap out of that, get our kind of core strength back, have nice, upright and alert posture, beautiful, healthy feet. And we can run and move kind of, long into later life. So there's stats, there's like 70 or 80% of recreational runners suffer from some kind of injury, which is just bananas, right? Like, because if you read the, Daniel Lieberman's kind of seminal paper, we are, or you've read the book and read the paper, then humans are born to run. We are perfect, upright running specimens. So the fact that we get there's something wrong there if we're all getting injured doing what we're kind of designed to do. So
it's a wild statement to say we're born to run, and then it's easy to write off and say like, oh, you're born to run until you're 50, and then as soon as you hit 50, all of a sudden there's like this chronic pain spectrum that is just expected. When we can shift that status quo of why do we get chronic pain? And it's not because we're aging, it's because we're being ineffective in our training methods or in our movement methods, and it really comes down to just providing opportunities to be in that environment. It made me think of something, because my foot's definitely changed shape, and I used to wear a lot of Converse and like Nike Frees and boots and like pointy boots. I go out line dancing or be working out in the yard and wearing boots that it's already got a lot of support to it. It's got a little heel lift to it, and your foot doesn't move in that thing. You feel really solid. And now I can't fit into those anymore. I literally tried to put my foot into them the other day, and it was like, well, these are no good. And it wasn't even comfortable. It was like my foot had gone from toes that were stuck together. I spent a lot of time barefoot, so it wasn't, they weren't a bunch of big issues, but my foot went into this spacey realm that now they only fit right in a minimalist footwear. I was talking to a kid the other day. We coach some youngins, between the ages of 8 to 12. And they looked down at my feet and they're like, you got some weird shoes on. What are those? And I looked down at theirs and I said the same thing back to them. I was like, well, your foot looks like this like cylinder, or like this little triangular cylinder. And they're looking at mine that look like a club foot or something, or just something that's so wide. And it made me think of like, it really does start with our kids, right? Starts with that young age and the foundation being set. You guys actually have kids footwear. Have you guys always sold kids footwear? Or?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm honest, it's always been a bit of a crazy business model from a kind of a shoe business, or we like to call shoes the bad guys. So we call what we do footwear. But yeah, so we've always had a bit of a crazy business model, because most shoe businesses we're like, you're either a trail shoe brand, or you're a gym shoe, or you're a kind of running shoe or whatever. But obviously barefoot is a category in itself. So when you drink the Kool-Aid and, you believe in the importance of it, we were like, well, as you say, it starts a lifetime of wearing shoes obviously starts when you're younger, right? It starts when you're a kid. And kids' feet are actually kind of 70% cartilage until their formative years. So they're literally kind of plastic. So, or like plasticine. So if they literally kind of do take the shape of what you put them in. If you think of the Chinese foot binding when. Oh yeah,
it's insane.
It's insane. So it's like they were literally buying the shoes, and they kind of become, they bind the feet, and then ultimately they broke the arches. So it's pretty harsh. It was a kind of cultural thing, kind of born out of having small feet, was considered kind of very regal and prestige.
Not only little feet, it was like dysfunctional. Like you couldn't use them, right?
Yeah. And actually, I think like some of the early kind of trends of dysfunctional footwear were, I think, born out of the kind of the layers of society, or the upper echelons of society, that because if you could wear crazy shoes like with long toes and on massive and in crazy shaped heels, and it kind of meant that you didn't have to, work the land. You didn't have, you had people doing your stuff because you could just totter around your kind of big mansion.
Sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Sounds absolutely ridiculous. And, I'm sure they thought that at the time. But yeah, so kids, it's frankly a public health scandal, right? Because making shoes that are fundamentally affecting, or making anything that fundamentally affects a kid's health, makes any parent kind of turn white. But yeah, feet, 99% of feet are born perfect. Bunions are not hereditary. Most foot conditions are not hereditary. They're caused by shoes. There may be hereditary kind of likelihoods to it happening more. But yeah, kids have amazing feet. Leave them as barefoot as possible. I remember when my son was 1 or 2, I've got this beautiful video of him running along the poolside, like on really hard concrete, leaning right into it. And it's like a slow motion video on my iPhone camera. You can just like see the feet land and the toes splay and just everything working beautifully. So yeah,
it's got the technology is built within us, right? We just start to inhibit it over time.
Yeah, it's all there, man.
Huh. Well, I mean, so you guys in the footwear, compared to like the shoe industry, it seems like the shoe industry is still scared shitless of barefoot or minimalist training. You go into pretty much any shoe store, and you're not going to you might find one minimalist shoe that's kind of off to the side, and it's just kind of it's got a little more minimalist feel to it. But it seems that, you go into a shoe store, somebody that knows a lot about feet, let's say, and they put you over a pressure sensor and go, oh, you're over supinated or over pronated. This is the best shoe for you, for your foot. It seems so right when you're in that moment of like, oh, this person's assessing my foot. They're putting me in the right shoe that's based on what my foot looks like. When it really seems that it's kind of be going more and more backwards, in the sense that your foot is going to become more dysfunctional the more you put it into a shoe that's holding your foot into that position versus letting it going through its natural flow. Do you guys deal with that a lot with the shoe industry, saying like, no, you're still wrong, even with all the research that's out?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're a small challenger brand, kind of, trying to challenge the industry in our own way. I mean, like, it's a bit of a vicious circle there, right? Because we're arguably, I don't think there's any kind of, there's not any kind of malicious intent. And if you watch Shoespiracy if you watch Shoespiracy, which is a video that we kind of co-created it's almost like a trailer with the idea was that we try and inspire a producer out there to make a fully independent one, but it's got a lot of independent big Don scientists and biomechanists and stuff that are on the barefoot train. But you know, and Dan Lieberman there says that we're arguably, you know, trying to fix a problem that shoes caused in the first place. And there's something interesting kind of about that statement. And I don't think that there's any malice involved. They're not like we're just trying to
right.
We've gone down this road and we're just trying to fix it and make this perfect shoe. But the reality is the foot is already good. It's fine, right? It actually it does get biomechanically or challenged later down the line, but you can, in many cases, kind of reverse that damage. But it's not a silver bullet, you know. You got to get there. The light bulb's got to go off, and then you've just got to go, okay, right, step out of your shoes, take your time, walk before you can run, let gravity do its thing, stand up on your desk, don't sit down, and start to kind of let all these natural, the natural three kind of systems kick into place.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lack of or a loss of common sense, and literally meaning sense of like feeling your feet. I have so many people that get scared of taking off their shoes because the shoes are their support. Like that is their lifeline. Without the shoes, they cannot move. Like, get my shoe back on, gotta throw it back on. And it really is a leap of faith initially when you've put yourself through years and years and years of more and more dysfunction, and things start rising up, and you go through the healthcare system. And like I said, you know, your lower back pain, oh, we got to fix your lower back, or you hurt your shoulder, we got to fix your shoulder, without analyzing this person for who they are and empowering them to make a choice and to understand like all their habits and routines and lifestyle choices have brought them to this point. There's simple little things like just taking off your shoes and going and walking around your yard every day. Or you take your shoes off when you're sitting at your desk. You don't have to really just stand up at your desk. Just take them off and let your feet breathe, so they're not being so compressed. I think that's so powerful in the messaging, to put the power back into the individual's hands, the human's hands, versus an authority figure telling you, don't do this, don't do that, avoid this, avoid that, don't go running anymore if it hurts you, versus let's take steps to get you to where you want to be.
No, big time. Yeah, I mean, we do live in a bit of a kind of silver bullet kind of mentality of the, you know, buying, you know, you got a headache, take a pill, your knee's injured, put on a brace, you're running wrong, here's a perfect shoe. Do you know what I mean? But so, but I do believe we're starting to unpick that kind of mentality now, where, as you were saying earlier in the conversation, you know, if you've got a back problem or a sore neck or a cranky shoulder or something, there's usually something further down the chain that's caused that. But you know, it's like it's pretty simple stuff at the end of the day. Like, I get it, it's tough to think that that some of the biggest, sexiest footwear brands in the world are kind of not getting it quite right. So it's just tough to kind of get over that space. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you take your shoes off, it feels great, and that's all we're talking about here, right? Just taking your shoes off feels good. You run around on the beach, you don't need them. You go shoeless on holiday, you don't kind of you don't miss them at all. And in fact, if you probably think about it, you really quite like it. It's that simple. Yeah.
Who would have guessed? You know, take off your shoes to fix your feet versus putting in an arch support.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's in there, like, they've never done minimalist before, they rarely spend time barefoot, they're in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and experiencing a lot of discomfort, especially in their feet, and they're hearing this? How would you have them transition if they were interested in going about this? Would you say, nope, stay clear of it, or hey, take little steps? What's kind of a stepping stone way to get into that healthy foot?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic. You got to walk before you can run, and you got to stand before you can walk. And the truth is kind of, how long is a piece of string? There's not like a magic 6-week program to kind of transition. The main thing is getting out of your shoes, starting by just standing and walking and letting gravity do its thing. You've got 3 kind of systems within your body. You've got the nervous system, which is obviously all the nerve endings and the point we were talking about in terms of the sensory feedback loop, feeling the ground, engaging your nerve receptors for the first time, getting that connection kind of going again. You've got your muscles and tendons, which are literally like your natural spring, shock absorption and elastic recoil, right? So if you've had arch support, one of your major shock absorbers is your plantar fascia underneath your arches. So if you've had arch support, then all of that is weak. If your heels have been up in the air, then your Achilles tendon is usually a little bit shorter. So you've got to take time for these systems to get back into place and functioning again, right? When you talk about things like Morton's toe or kind of big foot deformities, the truth is it can get a bit more complicated. Like don't go out running, don't go out and do a 10 miler straight away.
They swear by these things.
Take your
foot
time.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah, your foot strong. Yeah, throw your shoes away. Everything will be fine. So just take your time. We've got really good resources. I'm going to plug the website now, VIVOBAREFOOT.com. Go there. We won't sell you a shoe. You don't need them. Just take your shoes off. And there's really good resources there. But yeah, stand, walk, run, practice your squat, which is all about kind of ankle and hip mobility, which is key to kind of natural movement. And yeah, standing, walking, squatting, and kind of getting everything back in shape and lots of air between those toes.
That's wonderful, man. A shoe cobbler saying don't put shoes on. take them off. Yeah. That's lovely. Yeah, and we talk to our clients a lot. People who are transitioning into this, they're like, "All right, is this right for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just go try them on, go figure it out." And there's not a perfect stepping stone way of step 1, step 2, step 3. It's just start feeling your body, and as soon as you start throwing them on, you're going to experience discomfort if you're not used to being barefoot, right? It's not just a easy, I throw them on and my foot's strong. You've got to, just like with any muscle, any movement, you've got to strength train it. You've got to put the reps in, and knowing that it's going to be a little uncomfortable and saying, all right, I've got my old pair of shoes. I got my Vivos. It's okay to go back to your other shoes if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, but keep transferring into those new kicks, or go barefoot more and more often. And over time, your body will adapt. You actually will feel your toes spread out. You will feel the ground beneath your feet. And it almost becomes like a game where you get to play with the ground, right? You get to sense all these different angulations. Like you had mentioned earlier, tennis player who had been missing some of that lateral motion. We see a lot of people come in with big clunky shoes, and we do a lateral lunge or a rotational shuffle, and they're afraid of tipping over because their shoe is they're so high up that it just tilts, and they feel like they're going to roll an ankle, versus just cut the bottom out and feel your foot, feel the ground.
It's like, it's kind of mindful movement, you could say, because obviously it's about connecting to your movement, which is tough to do when you're missing one of your major movement sensors, which is your feet. And so, you connecting to your feet, feeling the weight distribution in your feet, getting a nice upright posture, just when you're standing and waiting for a bus or waiting in the bank queue or whatever. But just when you're standing, just feel your posture nice and straight. Feel where your weight is, that it's not too far back on your heel, that it's not too far back on your toes, that your big toes are engaged. It's the big toe and the ball of your foot are your kind of major anchor and pivot point. So just getting that big toe back in the game, getting this toe splayed, and just being aware of just your standing technique. And then you can, and that's fun. That's a nice kind of process into a new way of moving, and you're going to experience all that cool stuff. Like you're going to be feeling the ground in a way that is that's totally new, and it's a cool process. And as your feet adapt, it gets better, and the fatty tissue in the soles of your feet kind of gets stronger, and everything gets back to your supernatural.
Yeah, there's so much of that real estate in your brain that, like you said, your hands and your feet, that are all connected. And once you just start lighting up those receptors in your brain, I guess it's more than just movement, right? It's more than just gaining muscle and gaining strength. It's enjoying life. It's like your feet touch hot sand or cold water or something. You get this rush of emotion or energy or thoughts and memories, right, of certain things you've experienced. And the more we're able to experience those things, or at least allow for that experience, I feel like we get out of just trying to solve for pain. It's much more of experiencing life for what it is in its entirety.
In HD. And there actually there are really cool studies. There's cool studies with the kind of old people and Alzheimer's of it kind of rehabilitating cognitive function just from being barefoot, and with kids in classrooms where it kind of improves cognitive function and learning and concentration.
Wow.
And all of that sort of stuff. It hasn't been done yet, but it's one of the ones we want to do, because obviously we're talking about the benefits into movement, and it's quite a big leap for people. That is like, okay, right, your feet need to be strong and it's connected here and and then you can move well, and it's quite a big kind of investment into and leap of faith for so to speak. But it's a wonderful study that hasn't happened yet, but in a world where we're all putting magic powders and herbal bits and bobs in our coffee to kind of make us think smarter and kind of come up with better ideas, when the penny drops that just being barefoot kind of improves brain plasticity and stimulates creative minds, then could see everybody rushing to the store.
I love it, man. I got a question. Have you ever looked into like the practice for grounding or earthing?
It's a brilliant question, that, and it is one that came up in a recent podcast I had actually with Gabby Reese. I don't know if you know her. She's a ex-athlete. Yeah. And she brought that up too as well. And look, we fundamentally believe in it all. And grounding is basically the premise that your body's a battery, and right down to a cellular level, the kind of positive, negative charge needs to be just so to know whether you got sick cells or healthy cells, and it ultimately reduces anxiety, stimulates kind of regenerative healing and all of that sort of good stuff. But we haven't. So you need to make the shoes conductive.
Right, a little metal piece, right? Well, that's like a copper lining or something.
Yeah, you can do it in your garage with a little kind of copper button. There are more sophisticated ways to do it. We actually haven't. We've been fooling around with it, to be honest. We haven't gone down that route commercially for two reasons. One is there still is some kind of slightly pokey science around it, so it doesn't have a kind of. It's a challenging big second message when going back to the earlier point of just going up against the big shoe with barefoot is a big enough one as it is, but we're looking at it, and I think it's safe to say you're probably going to see a little bit of grounding technology kind of arrive in our shoes in the next couple of years.
That's sweet, man. Yeah, it seems like it's on the rise. Just we're in such non-conductive surfaces, right? Stuff that just is insulating us, and a lot of times it is that sole in the shoe or the sock or our rubber floors. And it's cool that you guys are looking into that and diving deeper, because it's a little woo-woo for people. We're on the earth all day long, every day. And there was a time where we were sleeping on the ground and touching the ground with our feet. So that's rad, man. It's rad.
But yeah, you can do it. You can get ground, as you know, right? You can get the grounding sheets for your bed, because back to the earlier point, you don't need to be grounded all day to get the benefits. So you can get one on your bed. You can also get the conductive mats at your standing desk. And as long as you're getting 30, I think they say it's around 30 minutes a day, just to kind of balance everything out, then there's a lot of people that swear by the effects, and there's compelling science around it too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of research of just especially with like rheumatoid arthritis, and especially in like the feet and in the hands, just applying that groundedness, that negative charge to release it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you guys go with that in the future.
Yeah, man, we'll keep you in the loop.
What's Vivos Future look like? What are you guys stoked about? What's building? What's kind of the next 3 to 5 years look like for you guys?
Another great question. I mean, we're on a regenerative journey as a business. So obviously the key foundational part of Vivo is around foot health. So we talk about healthy people, healthy footwear, healthy planet, or healthy community, healthy footwear, healthy business. So we're in a world where, frankly, sustainability is not enough. We need to move into a gear of kind of regeneration, like ultimately a net positive business for people and planetary health. So sustainability is a big thing with us, and the kind of promised land is to create regenerative footwear and experiences that bring us closer to nature, and our natural potential is our what. So we believe that the more time people spend in nature, doing natural stuff, the healthier and happier they will be, the more they'll value nature, and the beautiful virtuous circle of everything kind of keeping in a nice balance for generations to come will happen. So we're in a big kind of constant transformative and growing kind of business environment of reporting on the triple bottom line. It's not just about profit for us in the traditional sense of the word. We just became a B Corp end of last year. So we're pleased with that.
Rad, yeah. That's awesome.
So we're not stopping there. We're kind of using it as a kind of measure and a platform to make it all better. We want to make Vivo the best place in the world to work and have a thriving and vibrant kind of culture and place to work. The final thing is, it's no secret that the world is moving in a kind of digital and very connected direction. We're a direct consumer business. Obviously, in the recent kind of year of wave after wave of COVID, it's made that kind of even more important. So our big challenge is how to use technology to reconnect people with their potential and the natural world. So we're investing heavily in kind of exciting kind of platforms and systems to try and deliver that.
Just letting people know, like, what's happening down there, right? You happen to do it proprioceptively and so subconsciously that it, your body's organizing all the systems together. So it'd be cool to see that like written out on a. I'm imagining like a force plate, or imagining like how your foot strikes the ground, or
exactly
bringing
that.
those together.
Yeah. So we're putting together a really cool training kind of platform, and when I say training, I mean more like a kind of barefoot journey platform. So it's something, in your earlier point, is like, right, what do people need to know if they want to go there? So it will kind of deal with all walks of life. Like if you want to get into barefoot, it will be a place. We want to facilitate that and make that as easy and interesting as possible. We have there'll be foot scanning, and so you can kind of measure your barefoot journey. There will be we have force plates obviously in our stores, but it's going to become more and more important to have that in footwear, to kind of effectively try and put the coach in your under your feet. And then we're trying to make the best shoes in the world, the best trail shoes, the best walking shoes, the best lifestyle shoes, and we need to do that in a more transparent and ultimately kind of net positive way in the not too distant future. So we're investing in technology and exciting kind of innovation streams and really exciting partnerships to make things simpler and quicker, with less lack of transparency and end of life solutions.
Yeah, it's so rad. I'm stoked for where you guys are headed. I wanted to bring up one other thing too that I've seen recently with you guys. I was working with Algae and Seaweed. Like, tell me more about that. You guys are making seaweed shoes, or
so we, part of, it's not the only part, but part of the kind of regenerative journey is materials. As I said before, like the end of life is the kind of elephant in the room. It's kind of, it doesn't matter what you make something out of, it's kind of how long it lasts for and what we can do with it at the end of its life. But so we have three material kind of buckets, if you like. One is biosynthetic, one is recycled to be recycled, the other one is natural. So the simple goal there is when you make things out of mono materials, they're a lot easier to deal with at end of life. So that helps us, kind of keeps us focused on that journey of either only making or trying to, but it's not easy in every category. Trying to make things that use the best that nature has to offer for certain products, or the best when you need synthetics, monosynthetics, it can be recycled. And in the case you're talking about, the exciting new world of biosynthetics. So we did a shoe in 2017, a company called Algae, and the material is called Bloom, which is an algae-based EVA. So it's got a front end kind of environmental benefit in that in that algae is natural in the world. In fact, it's the kind of it's the foundation of, frankly, sea life as we know it. It was some of the first life on planet Earth. But in non-regenerative farming, you have the acid runoff, and it creates an environment for algae to bloom. Hence the name.
Oh, wow.
Bloom. So by taking the algae away, you reduce the CO2 into the atmosphere, and you also clean up the waterway because it gets suffocated. So yeah, we didn't make it, but the partner that we aligned with from Algix created this cool foam called Bloom, and we made a kind of amphibious shoe at the time, made using Bloom. It's still a pretty low percentage of algae, and like I said, it's far from perfect, but we really see these as important kind of lighthouse moments to kind of inspire the industry that there are new solutions, right? They're not perfect solutions, but there are new solutions, and in that way, it kind of it keeps the innovation moving, and hopefully the bigger guys get on board, which they all are, and we can start putting more money into cleaner materials and solutions. Yeah,
man, I'm so stoked for that. It's one of the reasons why we wanted to interview you guys over at Vivo, just because you guys are literally on the cutting edge. You guys are on that innovation train and trying to be creating something that isn't just a great product, but is sustainable for the entire planet. And it's building a community. It's got solid energy around it, and you guys continue to push the boundaries and push the limits since you started. I think there's quite a few times where I was like seeing you guys kind of like come down, come up, come down, come up, and I was like, oh, I want Vivo to make it. And you guys seem like you're on a solid trend towards taking over this industry.
Yeah, look, we almost lost our way a couple of times. It wasn't easy kind of getting through, but we're in a healthy place. We've got a long way to go. We are our own worst critics of our homework, and we're far from perfect. But we've got a really exciting challenge ahead to kind of bring people along with us and make our shoes and our overall business impact as positive as we can, as regenerative as we can, and it keeps us getting out of bed in the morning and doing our thing, feet first.
I appreciate what you guys are doing, man. I know you mentioned before, check you guys out on VivoBarefoot.com. Where can we find out the science, the research, all the articles that you guys kind of bring into to your practice?
Yes, good point. If you go to discover on VivoBarefoot.com, or the Vivo Barefoot YouTube, you will see Shoespiracy. So we're actually just launching. We're just doing our next sales conference in and around the science with a research study that we were part of that's just come out of Liverpool University. The result is after 6 months of wearing Vivo shoes, your feet get 60% stronger and your balance improves by 40%.
Holy man, that's miraculous.
It's a big one. It's a big one. You're going to see it all live and direct middle of next month. So go to Vivo Barefoot /Shoespiracy, or just go to find out more Shoespiracy on VivoBarefoot.com, or just Google Shoespiracy. You will find the yellow brick road and check it out. Yeah.
Super rad, man. Thank you so much for taking some time. I know we had funky stuff with the timing, but it worked out, man. And really looking forward to our listeners hearing this conversation and just kind of diving deeper into not only minimalist footwear, but the future of their health and community's health and ultimately our planet's health. Cool. Hope you guys all go check out Vivo.
Yeah. Listen, thank you so much for your time. It was fun to talk feet, and good luck with everything, and speak to you guys soon. Enjoy the shoeless experience.
Right on. Thank you, Asher. Appreciate you, man.
Bye now. Bye-bye.